Well, for almost 30 years, North Carolina went Republican in every presidential election until 2008. And in 2012, Mitt Romney barely won that state, which was 4 years later. Now polls in the state show another close race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in November. To help us get the North Carolina mindset, Will Doran, the Charlotte Observer and North Carolina PolitiFact reporter. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it, Will.
Thank you. Although in the spirit of PolitiFact, I have to say I'm actually with the Raleigh News and Observer, not the Charlotte Observer.
All right, great. Thank you so much for correcting that. We always like to be accurate. I want to get your observations, first and foremost, with really the news of the week. The Supreme Court striking down the voter ID law, which, for all fairness, had a couple other, it impacted not just voter ID, but also early voting restrictions as well as out-of-precinct restrictions. So I want to get your take on the Supreme Court striking down that voter ID law and also the reception that you're seeing in your reporting.
Yeah, absolutely. It was big news here. Obviously, the Supreme Court, deciding to let the appeals court ruling stand, which struck it down. And a lot of people have said that this is obviously very good news for Democratic candidates from Hillary Clinton on down, because it should increase turnout. And as the court found it, the law had specifically targeted minority voters who might be a little bit more inclined to vote Democrat. But at the same time, you have to remember that none of these voter ID laws were in place in 2012 when Mitt Romney did win North Carolina. So this by no means dooms Republicans in North Carolina.
Right.
I think this year we're going to have another very tight race here.
All right, so let's put up some numbers. In 2008, it looks like obviously Obama won the state of North Carolina. In 2002, Romney, like you said, and we're seeing in 2016 the race being very, very tight. I want to know, what do North Carolina voters care about this election cycle? Can you break down the demographics for us?
Sure. Well, I don't think it would surprise anyone that obviously jobs and the economy are a big issue here. Things are obviously looking up a little bit since the recession, but we were hit very hard by the recession. We have a large manufacturing sector here in North Carolina, and for that reason, you've seen, in a lot of his stops here, Donald Trump is going to some of the areas that were hit very hard. He was in Winston-Salem maybe a month or so ago, actually talking about how much his trade views were similar to Bernie Sanders, and trying to win over some of those, disaffected workers who, are unhappy with the country's trade deals, unhappy with how manufacturing is. And I actually looked into that for PolitiFact and found that while maybe he and Senator Sanders had some different ideas on how to do things, their general philosophy was very similar. Well,
we only have about 20 seconds left, but I want to get in one more question, because I do want to know if you think it's possible that Donald Trump could win over disenfranchised voters, perhaps ones that voted for Ted Cruz or even some that voted for John Kasich.
Sure, and that's going to be the big battle here in the suburbs, is trying to get those voters and convince them not to stay home or not to even flip to Clinton. And, that's going to be a big battle for the Republicans.